Then I got a call. I got a call from Miss Christine. Christine called me up. I'm thinking it was 7:30 ish, quarter to 8 that morning.
July the 4th or
It'd
the
be
5th?
early morning, July 5th. And basically, what she told me was is that her son had gone out the day before that on the 4th with a bunch of his friends. That's key.
There was an initial request or an offering up of cadaver dogs to search one of the boats, I guess one of them that Nolan may have been on, and that was presented and it was rejected by Benjamin Crump.
What I told the lead attorney was, I've got the dogs. You get the permission. What she said was, we'll have to really think about it. We didn't understand that if there's no alert, that means nobody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, got an exclusive interview with an incredible guy. I was able to talk to him a few days ago and get a lot more information than I previously had. So I want you guys to help me welcome to the show Josh Gill. He's an incident commander for the United Cajun Navy. So Josh, welcome to the show. And I want you to give people a perspective of what the United Cajun Navy is, because when I first heard about this as it relates to the Nolan Wells case, I had no idea what the Cajun Navy was. At first, I was like, is this a part of the Navy? And then I realized very quickly this may be a private organization that does good work. But can you explain to the audience what exactly is the United Cajun Navy and what's your job description in that?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. United Cajun Navy, we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3. Easiest way to explain it is disaster response relief and recovery organization. So what I specialize in is search and rescue, search and recovery operations. I help find missing people. But outside of that, our organization does a lot of blue sky stuff. We do food drives. We do toy drive. Last year was close to 600,000 toys we handed out. We really run the gamut from disasters and blue skies. Community involvement's the biggest thing, the easiest way to explain it.
That's awesome. And it's all volunteer work, or how does that work?
All volunteers, man.
Wow.
100% volunteer.
Wow, that's incredible. And so as it relates to the Nolan Wells case, can you walk me through when you were first notified and what were the first few things that you did as a response?
Sure. So late that night, early Sunday morning, I received a Facebook Messenger call from somebody that had been noticing it on Facebook on what was going on with
Is
all
this is this
the
July the
messages in
4th?
the post about
Oh, July the 4th or the
be
5th?
early morning, July 5th,
Or the month? Okay.
the 5th. So early morning there, and I started reading into it, right? There were some Facebook posts. Then I got a call. I got a call from Miss Christine. Christine called me up. I'm thinking it was 7:30 ish, quarter to 8 that morning, and we discussed what was going on. So I asked a lot of questions. Physical description, and I asked some hard questions. Mental health crisis, any kind of habits, anything like that. And basically, what she told me was is that her son had gone out the day before that on the 4th with a bunch of his friends. That's key, with a bunch of his friends, and they were partying on Horn Island. I mean, it's a big. And he didn't return home. So
Mm.
what from that phone conversation is I quickly say, hey, let's memorialize everything, right? Ask her to put it all to me in a text message. So from there, we communicated both in phone and on text. But if there was anything important that needed to be relayed, I wanted to make sure that I memorialized it, documented it, and I'd send a text message back. So starting that Sunday morning, the text messaging and communication started. My organization, we have a lot of volunteers in that area, and my vice president was there as well. And we started mobilizing people quickly to go out to Horn Island to start looking. We had
And
some surface vessels, some boats, and drones.
y'all check this out. If you need custom shirts, hats, or gear, check out Pure Choice Apparel. You can pick your product, see the prices up front, upload your logo, and preview the design right on the website. No waiting around for salespeople or dealing with endless emails. We handle screen printing, embroidery, DTF printing, and even laser etching or laser engraving all under one roof. It's made right here in the United States of America, and we have the quickest turnaround that you can find. And also, if you're a business looking to outfit your employees, we got you covered. All you got to do is go to purechoiceapparel.com and check us out today. And Miss Christine, being Nolan's mother, did she mention to you at all that he had anything going on with mental illness or anything like that that you should be concerned with as you got on the search? Or did she say, hey, he's a model citizen, which is what I've heard, and everything was good, he didn't come home?
Absolutely. So She didn't say that there were any mental health crisis or any mental health issues going on, and explained to me about her son. Again, model citizen, great kid. Everybody's all American. The guy everybody wanted to hang out with. Did say that he had been drinking the day before, but he was out with a bunch of his friends and didn't make it back home.
And the initial search effort, what did that look like? You said you guys had boats, you had people in the air. Was there any physical people physically on the island? Were there people in the water? Can you explain what that initial effort was?
Sure. So we had boats that were in the water, and we sent people to Horn Island with a drone as well, to start looking at that area. So immediately around Horn Island, with surface vessels, what we call boats, as well as boots on the ground to start, the aerial search with drones. Now, I did reach out to the Coast Guard and ask them if they needed any air support as well. And they said that they had rotary wing in the air. I did have some fixed were available. They told me it was Jackson County Sheriff's Office, that it was their area and their jurisdiction, and they said they didn't need any additional aircraft. So we moved forward with the plan that we had, with boats and boots on the ground there.
And while you guys were on the ground, in the water, did you see anything that was concerning? Did you see anything that was an indication of an altercation or any signs of Nolan or anything in that initial search?
None, none at all. But what we did do, so um, I put out a post, right? So we use social media. It's a huge tool. What we do is I'll make a video and have a missing persons poster, and I put that poster out, and we started to receive some phone calls and some messages. There were some people who said they may have seen him on land. This was later on Sunday, that they may have seen him in some of the surrounding municipalities. So again, not knowing what happened, not having any clue, we sent some people to check out those areas as well. But we continued our vessel search and our search in the water as well as on Horn Island. But moving forward from there is I started a very succinct operational plan to search later on in that next day that Jackson County Sheriff's Office was aware of.
Did you have any communication with Miss Christine after you guys have done the search? I know you had initial communication when she asked for your help, and did you talk to her or communicate with her during the search or there right after the search?
Absolutely. We communicated all day. And I've got the text messages where we talked via text as well as where we spoke on the phone. So I kept her up to speed on what was going on, and she would feed me a little bit of information throughout the day. And again, it was in text. And as that search started to wind down, we again had another conversation. And I explained to her, hey, here's what's going on. As it starts to get dark and dusk comes in, we demobilize and then we start planning for that next day.
And did you get any indication that she was concerned about race or it being a factor in this or foul play or anything like that? Did you, when you first talked to her, because this is fresh, I don't think the media even had an understanding of how she felt being presented to them. You were one of the first people in this intimate time that she was searching for her son, had a chance to communicate with her. At this point in your communication with her, was there any indication that she was concerned about a racial dynamic or any foul play, or was it just a mom looking for, trying to find out what happened to her son?
It was a frantic mother worried about her child. And that's no indications of race, no indications of foul play. She reiterated a couple times, Brandon, that, he went out with his friends. He went out with his friends. So it really made me to believe that it was a cohesive unit, a group of guys who went out to go party on the 4th of July on Horn Island. But again, no initial accusations of foul play or anything to do with race. Not at all.
And so you guys concluded your search, I believe, the day that he was discovered. Did you guys discover him? Did law enforcement discover him? And then walk me through what happened next with notifying Miss Christine and the family.
Sure. So the next day is really key. Really key that Monday morning, we were communicating back and forth, and I had a fixed wing that was going up. It's an airplane at about 6:30, 6:35 that morning, and I offered for her to go in the plane. I said, look, if you want to go up in the plane, the offer is there. I don't recommend it, but I need to at least express that offer to you and make it there for you. She declined that request, so I'm on my way there to the boat launch where the tactical operations center was at Mars Lake. And she sent me a message that morning and said, where are we going to meet? As soon as we're done with the data dump on the phone, we'll meet up with you. So that made me believe that, hey, they were going to the police department, whatever it was, to do that data dump on the phone. And then we got the call, right? So somewhere, it was after there, I was 15, 20 minutes away from the boat launch. The sheriff's department called me, and then Christine called me right after that. They had obviously first notified Christine. But when she called me, I told her, hey, I'm 15 minutes out. Meet me at that boat launch. And we did. She met me there. When she pulled up, she came running to me, and it was one of those moments that you'll never forget. This was a grieving mother who knew in her heart that that was her son that had been found. Gave me a big hug, man, a big bear hug. Mr. Elmo was there. And we sat in the parking lot. We sat on the ground in that parking lot for 15, 20 minutes, and we were exchanging tears, if I could put it that way. It was a super emotional time. And I knew that that was probably the beginning of the hardest days of her life, right there sitting in that parking lot.
Wow. When you talked about the phone, did she indicate to you at any point that there was anything suspicious in the phone, or she just in, kind of a passing conversation that she mentioned she was going to send the phone to be downloaded? So did she mention anything other than the phone being downloaded to you about the cell phone, or whether or not she believed it was a crime committed in it or not?
So didn't say anything about a crime, but we did discuss the phone that Sunday. So the day before he was found, she called me up and we had a discussion about the phone. She said, hey, Josh, they want the phone. And she said she wasn't too comfortable with sending it to him or giving it or turning over the phone. And here's what I told her. I said, look, that phone was your son's phone, and you've got every right to turn it in and to video everything that they're doing with the phone. Be there for it. If you don't trust the process or some concerns, get your phone and video what they're doing. If you're concerned about losing data, there it is. She seemed to be comfortable with that when I told her that. Look, I'm not law enforcement whatsoever, but I know that she's going through a hard time, and I just wanted to let her know that every part of the step with anything that she has, for her to document if she's afraid of losing some of the data or the integrity of that data.
Right. So
Right.
so in the early stages of the phone, she did express, without any coercion whatsoever that you know of, that she believed that there may have been reason for her to turn that phone over.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and then Nolan was recovered. You met with her. You guys exchanged tears and I guess sadness for Nolan, who was from all accounts an incredible young man. And then what happened next? Did you guys ever go to actually identify the body, or what happened after that?
So this is a key part, right? So she asked me to be a part when they go to the coroner's office. So they didn't bring his body to that location. They brought his body to a secondary location, as the hospital, the coroner's office. And she asked me to be a part of it. Of course, yes, ma'am. Anything I can do to help you. So we got in a convoy and we went that way. We went to the coroner's office. Sat down at the table. It was myself, the family, Miss Christine, Mr. Elmore, the coroner. I was right by her. Coroner comes in, and of course, it's difficult. It's a difficult conversation for anybody to have. I'm sure you're familiar with them. The coroner said, he believes that it's Nolan. 99.9% sure, whatever the stat was, but he still wanted to get a swab or get some DNA so they could double check. Said, according to the appearance in the photographs he's seen, it appeared to be Nolan. But he also said something very key, that there was no initial appearance of foul play. So to me, immediately what I thought was, no blunt force trauma, nothing visible right there, right? And obviously, there needed to be a further investigation, but the coroner did say that. Um, the questions were asked, just some, hey, can we see him, blah, 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 these things. But also the question I asked was, hey, Mr. Coroner, can you please explain the process of how it's going to move forward? It's just one of those things that the family needs to understand. And what he did was explain how they're going to move Nolan to the crime lab so they could fulfill all the autopsies and everything that way. I was not a part of identification of the body. We immediately left. So if at some point that evening later on, we went to their house after the coroner's office, if they went back to identify, I don't know. I wasn't, but the immediate meeting with the coroner's office, there was no identification by myself or the family that I was aware of.
And based on at this point, from all of your engagement with the family and also with elements of law enforcement, did you have any concerns of impropriety, meaning that you felt as if law enforcement wasn't or would not handle the case appropriately in the involvement that you had?
So from the level of engagement that I saw, let's base it on initial level of engagement. Um, they had a lot of people that were involved with the search, and then immediately after as well. I mean, I was communicating with the sheriff's department closely thereafter. Um, I did not observe or have a feeling of any lack of engagement or anything like that. You know, I think they were engaged, and then as the case moved on, I believe their level of engagement was appropriate because they knew this case is under a microscope. You know, everybody's out there watching. It's international news.
And I want to just ask you a personal opinion about this, because one of the elements that we've been trying to get out to the world is because this has turned into a racial dynamic. And just on your experience, I don't know how long have you been living in this area, or living in Mississippi around this Ocean Springs?
So I live in Louisiana, about an hour and 20 from Ocean
Okay.
Springs. All my life, 30 plus years. Huh.
And
Getting
and
old,
yeah, you got a big old gray beard.
right?
Being in that area your whole life, or a majority of your life, like do you notice any real racial tension? And I say real, I'm saying just from you, in your opinion, is there a element of racial tension in either the Louisiana area or near Horn Island and the Ocean Springs area that you have personally experienced?
So there's this perceived element of racial tension in the South, right? Let's call it the South as a whole. Um, I personally have not had any or observed any gross racial tensions whatsoever prior to this. I think that this case has exacerbated some, and there's been some outside influences that have exacerbated some racial tensions for whatever reason it is. We live in the South. Yes, there's a history and there's a past, and I understand that. Um, but move forward with the way we're living, right? It's 2026. Um, it's a difficult time, man. It's a difficult time in the South. It's a difficult time nationwide, right? But let me say this. Let me put this out there real quick: is that I 110% support Miss Christine and what she's doing. Um, she's a grieving mother, and I've said this from day one. There's no rule book. There's no playbook on how she should act or what she should do. Find the truth and trying to find answers. There's a lot of outside influence that's pushing her in whichever way it is or however it is. But again, I support her. She's got to find the truth so she can start that grieving and healing process. There's some disgusting things that are out there, and we just need to be able to differentiate from that, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that point, because that's been a huge concern of mine, of trying to figure out what's stimulating this. When I spoke to some of the young men that were being accused of killing Nolan, they were saying that that initially it didn't appear that there were issues between Miss Christine, the boys looking for Nolan, and then all of a sudden it seems to be an issue of race and accusations, and it's almost like the community beginning to break down, because it appears that even you, being a volunteer for the Cajun Navy, being able to, and being white, being able to go with Elmore and Miss Christine, and you guys shared the same sentiment of looking out for what happened to Nolan, and then it seemed like it turned. And from my observation, it seems like when the attorney Benjamin Crump and others got involved, it seemed to turn more in a activist political direction than just the generic direction of, hey, a community coming together to find Nolan. Now, that is my opinion. Now, you had a closer experience in this because you were in communication with Miss Christine and all of the above. What is your take on how this has played out since the very first time you got involved?
I don't necessarily disagree with your opinion. Okay. I've seen the communications with Christine and her family dwindle down after the hiring or onboarding of Mr. Crump. Now, again, I want to make sure that everybody understands I'm going to give the family the respective space that they need. And I will send them motivational messages. Just today, I sent one. Hey, Miss Christine, I know today's a tough day. It's your son's birthday. Just know that I'm here for you 110%. If you need a shoulder to cry on, somebody to call, whatever it is, I'm here. Got to thank you, which is all I expected. But what I did was watch lengthy communications turn into emojis or the little heart and then thank yous. And it's fine. It's the natural progression of the way the relationship was. But I do feel that that outside influence had something to do with it, without a doubt. And that's my opinion, right? So it's unfortunate, a young man lost his life.
And there's this issue with the cadaver dog. Um, I don't know the full details of this, but I'm under the assumption, I hope you can clarify this for me, is that there was an initial request or an offering up of cadaver dogs to search one of the boats, I guess one of them that Nolan may have been on, and that was presented, and it was rejected by Benjamin Crump. Can you are you associated with that, or can you explain that? Do you have more information than I do about this?
Sure. So I was the one who offered the cadaver dogs.
Oh, okay.
I had a conversation with the lead attorney. I had a conversation with the lead attorney, Liza Park. Again, I'd been trying to reach him for a couple days, and I left message. Couldn't do it. I asked Christine, give me a phone number. I need to talk to somebody. So I sent a text message on, I believe it was the 13th, got a read, no response. And I called that next day on the 14th, had about a 24 minute conversation, but I offered up the services of the cadaver dogs, right? So these are human remain detection dogs. And I told him, I said, hey, look, I've offered them to the sheriff's department, but I'm offering the service to you as well. And here's how it plays out. Those dogs can go to the boat, they can do a search on that boat. And if they alert on that vessel, and they alert as they're working to smell for a cadaver, um, there's more than likely a pretty big chance that there was a body on that boat. But if those don't alert, it's just the inverse. There may not, and it's a pretty good chance that there wasn't one on there. She explained the concern about them cleaning the vessel. I can pretty much guarantee they didn't clean the vessel with the necessary chemicals or the process that needs to be cleaned. And then that was reconfirmed when I went and spoke to the young men as well, because they told me how they cleaned the boat. And they said, man, Josh, all we did was spray it down with fresh water, because that's a common practice whenever you remove a vessel from salt water. Just spray it down, get the salt of it, and go there. But what I told the lead attorney was, if you would like these services, we'll provide the resource, we'll provide the dogs. You're going to have to get the permission. If it's a warrant, if it's you just asking for permission to look at that vessel, that's on you, not on us. I've got the dogs, you get the permission. What she said was, we'll have to really think about it. We didn't understand that if there's no alert, that means nobody. So
That's pretty. I mean, what do you take about? I mean, what do you think about that? Was that when she said that, was that suspicious to you, or was it just maybe somebody that don't understand how this process works, or how did you feel about that?
so
And it's
here's
just an opinion or a hunch of how you felt, because when you
no,
said
no.
it just now to me, it's kind of weird that you're looking for Nolan. If I was Nolan's friend, I mean, I don't even know Nolan. Knowing what I know about Nolan right now, there is no stone that would be left unturned for me. And so with the cadaver dog potential, how did you interpret that?
So I interpreted as there were concerns that the dog wouldn't alert.
Mm.
That was my interpretation. No alert, no body, right? So of concern because they were looking to try and find the last location of Nolan. Uh, yeah, it was a red flag. But here's what else I said. When I gave her a little piece of advice, me not being an attorney, but just a common sense kind of guy, I said, why don't you ask the family, because I can't give you permission to search your boat. Why don't you ask the people who own the boat, say, hey, we want to run a cadaver dog on it. If they say, sure, no problem, that'll tell you something. But if they say no, right? Um, so we never were returned. I never personally got an email or a call back. Hey, let's use those dogs. They could have went out somewhere else and used some other dogs. The conversation was that. But I will say this: 2 weeks later, the sheriff, Jackson County Sheriff's Office, did ask me to bring some cadaver dogs for another case
Mm.
that's in Ocean Springs. So they're fully aware of our capabilities, and they utilize us with those resources. So there's the cadaver dog story for you.
Yeah, that's it's very interesting. I just wonder, is there anything else that you have noticed, because you live out there, you've been involved in this case? I'm sure you hear, grumblings from people all around with theories, and some conspiracy theories. Some people are out of their minds on social media, and some people may have some interesting information. Is there anything else that you know of that you'd like to add, and you want the world to know about your involvement of things that you've been able to be privy to out at Horn Island or
Right.
even back on land?
Sure, and I've been to Horn Island many times, been out there for July 4th in years past. Here's a couple things I want to get very clear with people. Number one, I support Christine. Our organization supports Christine. Number two, the threats and the vitriolic rhetoric, it needs to stop, man. The threats, it's not healthy for the environment. It's not healthy for what's going on. These young boys are taking a beating with threats. It's not good. Next thing is, social media is a great tool. It can be your best friend, but it can be your worst enemy from time to time. Let's just watch what we say. So you're watching, people are looking, the mama Christine's looking at social media, the boys are looking at social media. These people have to move on with their lives. With all these crazy cockamamie stories, one lady said, oh, he could have been dismembered and put in a fish box and put back on the island. Come on, man. Let's use our noggin, not just to hold a hat on top of it, but let's use our head, right? Um, Look, there's problems. There's racial tensions. Granted, got it. Let's be driven by love, and let's not be driven by anger, because when we're driven by anger, we make bad decisions. And I think we need to start making some good decisions in what we do and what we say.
I love that. I appreciate you, Josh. What ways can people who are watching this help and support the United Cajun Navy?
Sure. So we've got a website. We are donation driven. We're a 501c3. It's unitedcajunnavy.org. Look us up: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, all that stuff. But again, if you can't donate, you can't volunteer. The one thing I ask for is prayers. Let's just pray that we can find the truth and get the answers out there, and we can accept the answers as they're given to us.
Well, Josh Gill, thank you so much. Josh Gill is the incident commander for the United Cajun Navy. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for what you did on that day and your efforts and showing love and respect for the family and all of the above, man. I really appreciate you. It's because of men like you and others who sacrifice their time, sacrifice their resources to really help in places where if it had not been for you, people wouldn't be found. They wouldn't be discovered. They wouldn't be recovered. And even when they are, without kindness and generosity and the ability to connect with people, people would discover their loved ones
Right.
and then have another bad experience with a person who has no empathy whatsoever. So thank you, Josh, for that. And God bless you, brother. And hopefully one day when I come down there to Louisiana or something, we could link up, man.
Come on. Hey, I do want to bring you up to speed on one case. So remember I told you about Jadarius Manyweather, the young man that was in the landfill that they've been looking. They found some remains yesterday.
Wow.
And yes, sir. After 30 plus days of looking with 80 people plus in that landfill, they found some remains. So that family can start their little piece of closure and start that healing process. We've been there from day one. I made a promise to that family to stick with it. And Jadarius is on his way home.
And what city was this in? Is this out there in Ocean Spring?
That was in Baton Rouge,
Oh,
Baton Rouge,
Baton
Louisiana.
Louisiana. Okay, okay. Well, dang,
Yes,
that's
sir.
great. It's a
So
great
that's
update. I remember you told
okay.
me before, it was a couple days ago, that it was nothing there yet, and they've been able to find, in part, some of his remains or human remains that may indicate that that's him, and they now know where he's at. So that's a
Yes, sir.
blessing, and thank you guys for that. I wish I can get updates all the time. Maybe I need to follow you guys on social media at the incredible things you guys are doing across the nation. Josh, thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Hey, here's what I'll do, my friend, because I know you've got a huge platform and millions of followers out there. I'm gonna start sending you updates. I'm gonna start sending you the people stuff that all we gotta do is get the word out there, my friend, and people will get found. If we can show that love all across the board, more people will get found. We can stop an end to some of this silliness. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, Josh, let me know. We can collab post or whatever you need so we can get it out there on YouTube, Instagram, you name it. We got you covered, brother. Thank you so much, Josh. Have a blessed
Right on.
day.
Thank you, my friend. Be
All
good.
right. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, another incredible interview. Give you a little bit of insight on some of the things that happened from, the start to finish. And I think that I'm telling you guys, the more I talk to people that I think have a close relationship with Christine, it makes me have a little more empathy or maybe sympathy for what she's going through. The frustration is that it seems like young innocent boys are being accused of something they didn't do, ruining their lives forever. But it makes me wonder, is it these hood-winking social justice warrior political attorneys who are coming into a situation that should have been a community outreach situation and coming in and conjuring up vitriolic behavior and leading us to nowhere? So anyway, y'all make sure y'all go and support Josh Gill. He is the incident commander for the United Cajun Navy. And go and donate to the United Cajun Navy. Even if you give $5, $10, anything will help in their efforts to do incredible things. So love you guys. See you on the next one. We out of here.